and welcome to our live session today for Decentraland Wellness Week. This is Nurturing Your Creativity and Resilience in an Increasing Digital World. We're so happy to have you. So if you are listening in, I know we have people visiting from YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, InWorld in Decentraland. So you may be at -61, which is where our main screen is in world if you're looking to jump in and have an even more immersive experience as part of this panel. So would love to welcome you all and our special panelists today. We are going to go around the room, let everyone do their own introductions. But hi, I am Kim Courier. I am the marketing director here at Decentraland. And today is day one of Decentraland Wellness Week. So it is our first time hosting Decentraland Wellness Week. So it's a new experience for us, but we're really excited. This is a festival on health and well-being in the digital age from January 24th to the 26th. You'll be able to explore 16 new community-built experiences and games, some with first-time builders in our community, and enjoy over 40 live keynote sessions and events like this one today. So really awesome lineup. Shout out to Bay, who is the producer of this event, and we are really pumped to jump in. I know we just lost Augie, it looks like, but we will start with a round of introductions, and Miriam, would love to have you get started.
Well, hello there. Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Miriam Schulman, and in case you listening are new to me, I'm host of the Inspiration Place podcast. I'm author of the book Artpreneur, which is how to make a living from your creativity. And I've been a professional artist for over 20 years.
Thank you. We're so excited to have you with us today.
I'm honored to be here. And I'm calling in from New York City. I don't know.
Perfect. Yes, and I'm in San Diego. And I'm going to jump to Nikki Innocent.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to virtually meet all of you that I don't know. Miriam, I'm like nerding out already hearing your bio, so I'm so excited to be here with you. I am Nikki Innocent. I am a holistic career coach. I work with people at the intersection of their career, their life, and their interpersonal dynamics and how they can lead more authentically in a world that is ever changing. And so talking about creativity and embracing what you're uniquely bringing to the party in a way that's sustainable is something that I'm working with people on all the time. And so I'm so excited to be here today and to talk about what I think is probably one of the most important and under talked about topics as we are in this creator world for sure. Oh, and I'm based in New York City as well. So Miriam, we got to hang out.
100%.
Now I'm going to have FOMO.
Come on.
All right, we're going to pass it to Augie.
Hi, I apologize about rugging earlier. I'm Augie, aka OgiWorlds. I'm a VR creator and metaverse builder, a designer, and an artist. Ultimately, I've been doing that for quite a while, longer than I care to admit. And I am coming to you from the metaverse and beaming into it from UK.
Thanks, Augie. So for everyone who is not familiar, Decentraland is a virtual social world. You can access it via your browser if you just go to decentraland.org, and you can jump in and have a well-rounded social experience where this panel is also being live streamed. Augie, as you just mentioned, you are one of the amazing builders and creators for Decentraland Wellness Week, which is kicking off today. I would love to start this conversation by having you just talk about what you've built and why you kind of got involved with Wellness Week this year.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm super stoked to be here. It's great to kind of share a panel with such amazing kind of guests and talent and stuff. And I'm intrigued for everyone to kind of see what everyone has to say about this. But yeah, I had a heads up on the Wellness Week. So when it kind of came up, let me go a little bit back. So I did the music festival this year, which followed after doing the Mesh. So my work is a bit unusual that I started in the whole kind of space in a metaverse and in crypto by doing hyper complex work in trillions of polygons. So with hundreds of thousands of layers, like super highly complex. then I've kind of added another bow to my tie by going into complete the opposite direction, pure minimalism of digital variety, i.e. Decentraland and everything else. When we're in Metaverse, we're in GLB, we are shrunk down and every vertex counts, right? So that kind of transition meant that I kind of went through MASH, and then I did the Music Fest. And when I was doing the Music Fest, it's the first time I built a space in DCL, and I had so many ideas, and I was kind of wondering, it'll be so nice to kind of try to get some of these ideas down again and try to kind of like, experiment with them. And I was thinking it's going to take a year. And one of these ideas was kind of like a poetry or a meditation room, because my initial thing was,
No.
Oh no, we lost him. I'm sure he'll jump back in a minute. But I'm trying to load his scene right now as well, because I think his connection's not working. So I will try to load it so we can share with everyone. But we will pass it on to Miriam and Nikki while we're waiting, because I think I see him coming back. Oh, he's back. Hold on.
Yeah.
You're back. You're quick at the login. I love it. You're here.
Oh.
You're here.
It's not letting me in.
Oh, we see you. You're here.
All right.
You're
only
back.
The host can see me. You need to add me to the stage.
Nope, we see you. You're live.
Oh, really? In which case, the app is rugging rather than me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotta love tech.
Like,
the increasingly digital world in motion.
the more complex we are, the harder things are and the more things break. Hence the kind of whole what I was talking about.
So we lost you at building a digital meditation room.
Fantastic. So you only lost a sentence. That's all.
Yes.
So I thought to build a digital meditation room whereby I can utilize some of the things that I learned in building in Visual Script, which is for me, that's the first time as well. So it's all kind of trying to like reconstitute the way I think, but I'm used to like hyper complexity, so it's not as difficult. And I really wanted to create a space which resonates with the beat of the metaverse itself. And I wanted to create a space which is multi-leveled and which has a multi-level experience in there. And also something that's kind of visually striking, beautiful, and minimal. So really the whole kind of thing, every vertex count, and lots and lots of instancing as well. So for geeky people out there, the whole space is around 11.23 megabytes, give or take. So super tiny. And I managed to pack a lot into it.
You definitely did. Yeah. It's such a beautiful space. I'm trying to see if I can get it up at the same time, but at some point during this panel, we will make sure that I show it up on screen for anyone that is not in world right now. But if you're in world, it's at 64, -66, so that you can see where we're talking about. But a beautiful black and white design and lots of moving pieces happening. So it's a really immersive experience.
It moves in the somatic rhythm. So it literally moves in somatic rhythm of breathing. So if you are to kind of align your breathing with the space as it kind of moves, you will be in a perfect somatic rhythm with it. So everything is in harmony with it. And everything that's kind of like offbeat has a different beat. So you can do like breathing through your mouth and nose and everything else. So you can really practice the meditative space in there. And then to kind of achieve the meditation part, I started around a month ago, training an AI model of a metasphere sage. Then I sharded that model into basically a clone and then retrained it specifically for this purpose to create a silicon sage shard of the metasphere sage. It gets a bit of mouthfully. And then that created the meditation processes. So it's a 3-day meditation. Today we've had grounding and the sage is being beamed into the space through screens. And tomorrow we're going to ascend to try and find our true self for the metasphere. And then on Friday, we're going to vision our digital self in the year to come. So I'm kind of really trying to connect the meditation practices with the metaverse, with the digital. How do we have wellness in a digital? Because a lot of times it's touch grass and go outside. But, how can we be well and go into the code? And it's a question I kind of try to not necessarily answer, but approach in the building of the construct.
Amazing. I'm going to try to present it right now. Let's see if I can do it. Share screen. And right here, you should see it popping up. All right. So this is my avatar. I am outside the world. We have just a reminder for everyone, Wellness Week is an enjoyment. It is not a substitute for personal care. If you do need personal care, we have a resource here for you to reach out to. But this is the beautiful space from the outside. You can see, I'm trying to get the full view here. Oh. I am hearing my stream in there. I don't know if you're all hearing the double stream. You're good? So, let me unshare. Let me unshare that one. But that was the screen, so you could see the black and the white. I have so many things loaded on my computer as I'm prepping for this. But as you can see, the black and the white, all the moving particles. I love the way you described it and how you brought wellness, the physical aspect, the breathing into such a digital space. I would love to ask Miriam, as we're talking through how Augie brought such creativity to a digital world, what other ways have you kind of seen the way digital tools are really impacting creativity in a digital world, and talk more about the inspiration place as well? You're still muted though. As we're talking through how Augie brought such creativity to a digital world. Peanut Butter pulled up the screen just so people could see it there for 1 second. Okay, Miriam, I think we're synced up now.
Okay, and I think
there
I'm
you go.
Hey, so it's no surprise what I'm going to say next. In 2024, AI is basically eating everything. It's like the Pac-Man. It's going around and it's eating everything. So this is where I'm, seeing what's going on now. But what happens is that the more we're connected digitally, the more alone a lot of people feel. Now I have artists who tell me they never have to leave their houses anymore. And there's a lot of people who are feeling isolated. They're feeling alone. And that's why I'm so glad that you're having this Wellness Week, because we've moved from the pandemic of 2020, where we had the health crisis, to now this mental health crisis, because so much is happening online, digitally. And even when we do go out in the world, there's less human interaction. I go to CVS, I check out to a computer. I'm not even talking to a person anymore. It's weird. And then we actually do have flying cars now. I don't know if you guys in San Diego, if you know this, but at CES in Las Vegas a week or so ago, they do have flying cars. So yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, the world is changing every single day as we see it come. And I think the ability to think about, when we're always on, how can we have the tools and the resources to be able to kind of bring creativity and be our best selves? Nikki, I know you work a lot in this space around this always on nature, the burnout that can come from it as we're continually in more and more digital spaces. Would love to hear from you some of the tools and how you're seeing that impact creativity with many of your clients in your coaching work.
Oh, for sure. I think, it's funny because I think Miriam hit such an important thing, that at this stage in where we are with the pandemic / isolation, we've kind of gotten, it's like, oh, this is just the way things are right now. When in reality, as human beings, we're meant to be connected with each other in a way that, sure, digitally connected is beautiful, and in-person connected, even if it is like at CVS, just like head nod acknowledgement of each other. Like those types of things are things that got stripped from us almost immediately. And what that does to the animals that we are as human beings, I think is really important for us to own and acknowledge. While also, I think the thing that's been really fascinating for me, both in the pandemic of really getting extremely reliant on technology and digital spaces to offset our lack of ability to like breathe in the same spaces as each other, but also what happens when you're able to foster community in a way that allows you to feel less like awkward. I think in the beginning, when, especially if people weren't used to being in rectangular versions of themselves in their lives, that like awkward figuring out like, how do I show up as me? And I think a lot of people have gotten more comfortable with that through exposure and through just what vulnerability offers you. And even before we hopped on here, I was talking about like how many people know you as just like the top half of your body. They don't even know the lower half of your body. How much of your life was like that? And so I think some of the tools that we already have in play that have the possibility to separate us and isolate us also have the other side of it, that if we lean into what it is about us that makes us human and makes us beautifully able to use these big brains to connect with each other, we can use tools to do that. I will say, I think that if we think about the powers that be tend to be around like consumerism and exchange and economy. And that is something that sucks a lot of our life force and our connectivity from each other. It becomes much more transactional than transformational. And so a lot of the stuff when I'm working with people that are in tech burnout or in any kind of digital burnout is sure, yes, go out in nature. Yes, go and do things where you're noticing that your body is separate from the digital phone and the computer, but also I think really tracking where your energy works. It could be in the digital space, really understanding where you're feeling fed back from these places versus constantly feeling like you're feeding into like being a slave to the algorithm of sorts. I think especially for creators and people that are constantly like trying to shoot their shot, it can feel like so much of your energy is around like trying to figure out what someone else wants or what the algorithm will amplify versus like what actually feels in alignment with what I'm creating from. What is the like source that is making me excited? What is something that's a muse that stimulates some attention or excitement from me, that creativity, like really leaning into the creation versus the display and the end product of like a like or a follow or whatever that kind of transactional dynamic is. A lot of it is, it's so funny. I don't know why this is coming to my brain, but a lot of it is something that I heard Bradley Cooper say to Oprah Winfrey years ago about like, a lot of times when you create something like a film, and it was A Star is Born, so everyone was talking about this movie, so much of it was about, did you get the award? And he was talking about the struggle that he had of being like, okay, I didn't get nominated for Best Director, but did that take away from the beautiful creativity and the experience that I had from it just because I didn't get the nugget on the end that was the award? And really shifting our look at our kind of frame on where our energy goes and where we get it back, that it's not all about like getting the 100% or getting the perfection, but really what is it along the journey that we can get fed back from.
Yeah, definitely. I want to pass it to you, Miriam, as you work around your work around inspiration and where that can come from. How do you see the positive and negative sides of the digital world coming into your work?
Okay. So a lot of people expect me to say with the AI that it's going to kill creativity. And right now, I love that Nikki's shaking her head. The thing is, we do use it in our tool. I'm not going to say we don't, but it's really stupid. It's basically like if you decide you're going to write a book, or you're going to decide you're going to write an email, or you're going to decide you're going to do whatever it is with ChatGPT. What ChatGPT, you would never say to a copywriter, before you write this email, go read the entire internet and then come back here. So that's how ChatGPT works, by the way. It's read the entire internet, and it can't really discriminate between what's good on the internet and what's bad on the internet. It's basically just everything. And that's why for some of us who have tried to use ChatGPT in a limited way, you ask it to do things and just like junk comes back because it's just read the entire internet. That said, we have found ways to use it like very cleverly. I use it basically as an unpaid intern. So it's like, okay, I need some research on this. Go find it for me. So in that ways, it's really helped us a lot. And there's ways that we're using AI that we don't even realize, oh, wait, yeah, that's AI. Even showing up right now, I was so happy to find out that there was a filter on StreamYard So that was really, really helped my stress levels right now. In terms of art, I feel like it's the same thing though. Like, yes, Dolly can produce art, but it's like, go look at everything on the internet and then create some artwork for me. I'm not threatened by that.
Yeah, absolutely. Augie, I'd love to hear from you as someone that builds in digital environments kind of every day. Where do you pull your source of creativity from? And do you feel like you were talking about the different triangles and how you build in different GLB files? Do you feel like some of that is giving you boundaries to be more creative? Oh, I lost. His internet connection's really bad, everyone. Sorry about that. I'll come back to that question. But I think one thing that's interesting, and we've heard from other artists building in this space, so Decentraland has very strict triangular requirements for how you build in our space. And we've heard from that limitation has actually brought a lot of increased creativity because there are guardrails for you that you have to build within that may not be present in other situations. So
creativity loves constraints.
Of
Like
course,
it doesn't
yeah.
even, it doesn't, like, whether you're writing a poem, a screenplay, if you're doing a commissioned piece of art, anytime you add constraints, you are more creative.
Augie, I'd love to hear your perspective on that, knowing you've been building in Decentraland. We have a lot of constraints on how it's built. So I'd love to hear how you bring that creativity to make such beautiful worlds.
So personally, I like to always play at the edge of things of what's possible, at the edge of technology. I like to play somewhere where it's unknown, where things haven't been created before, where, for example, like AI can't really help you that much because it can only do iterative what's been. It can't do what the human being does, which is using our brains to create the future. It can't do that. Like the way the processes work anyway, it's impossible for it to do. It can't be truly innovative. It's impossible for it to do because that requires us to go somewhere where we've never been before. And I find those places, those open horizons, they happen at the edges, whether that's the edge of hyper complexity, where you're pushing the technology to its breaking point. In that kind of way, how much can it handle in a data load? Or are you going all the way down? How little can it handle and still function in a data load? They're both kind of extremes. And I find, like, when I say I find myself comfortable, I find myself really uncomfortable in those places. It's kind of really difficult. But in there is a satisfaction, and afterwards a bit of a joy at creating, because creating is a journey, and it's a continuous journey, and that's where all the goodness of it is. There is no reward at the end of it. The reward is the creation process. That's when you have the most fun. That's when you do micro solving of micro problems all the time, sometimes bigger ones. You're kind of always thinking and moving everything and rearranging and repositioning, and you're hyper engaged, you're super engaged with the process, and everything matters. Everything's there for intent, and everything has a reason. And you can track that reason down through your own life experiences, all the way through your evolutionary path. And yet again, something that AIs can't do. They can't do everything for a reason, and human beings do everything for a reason, whether consciously or subconsciously. That's just how every creature is built, really. And so that's kind of how I like to create these edges. And within those edges, I find quite often I stumble upon things in those wanderings. And when I stumble upon something, it's usually something valuable that you kind of bring back and create something that hasn't been done before, that hasn't been created before, something new, novel, interesting, that will basically satisfy me. Because as artists, as much as we can try to communicate with the other world, with the rest of humanity, no one really ever can, because we are trapped within our own body. Effectively, we are N of one, and we always create to what our taste is. Even when we try to appeal to other people or to other sensibilities, we always do it through that prism. So you always kind of inevitably try to lean into yourself, because you're kind of trying to see. And within yourself, you're trying to find things that you've never seen before. And quite often that you may be fortunate enough that resonates with other people as well. And when it does, it's something really beautiful. And even if it doesn't, you still have the satisfaction of having journeyed on the creation process. And that's kind of the crux of my creative practice, really.
I love that, the creating at the edges. I think that's so true. And that's something we see a lot in Decentraland, because there are those limitations, those edges, those file size limits that really put their creative hat on to say, okay, how can I work around this? How can I build something? I'd love to talk more about that challenge of coming up against a barrier and how you kind of break through. Nikki, in your work, what are some tips and tricks you give people to get back into that creativity when they're hitting a little bit of a roadblock in their career or their next step?
I love that question. And I'm going to start with what Augie said. The first thing that came to my brain was about playing. I feel like so much of that exploration is about giving yourself permission to like play and stumble and fall and get back up and, okay, I was playing and I skinned my knee. Whoops, let's not do that again. And I think there's so much generative power. Oftentimes play is something that we give to little kids as a thing they're allowed to do. And the more you become official in whatever version of yourself you are out in the world, play tends to leave the equation. If somebody tells you you're good at something, oftentimes when you're trying to make that a thing, you lose the play. And so I think really leaning into the parts that feel like that childhood play is a really big part of it. And I think the beautiful part is we live in this world of like, let me buy a book to teach me how to do a thing. And also play has such a beautifully natural way of helping us overcome and sometimes become blind to the barriers that we've been operating around and have been kind of keeping us in a small box. And so I think oftentimes if we just give ourselves permission to play a little bit more and to not take things so seriously, that can, without our even noticing, break some of those barriers and allow us to see different parts of ourselves and see different opportunity out there. The other thing that, we talk a lot about, and again, when you are putting something and creating something out in the world that you've never seen before, there is that I don't know, my stomach always hurts. So I don't know if it happens to everybody else, but that feeling of I don't know if this is okay. I don't know if people are going to like this. I don't know if this is going to be accepted. And the imposter of no one wants this thing. Who do you think you are? Kind of dance that you do. That's an invisible barrier, but sometimes for some people can stop them from even showing stuff out in the world. And so I think befriending and understanding that those types of forces are really trying to protect you and understanding that might have come from all different times and places in your life, but honoring the fact that they're trying to help you and also they will join you and you can handle what comes next. And so instead of having those kind of limiting beliefs or those voices that make you feel like you got to doubt yourself be the things that take the wheel of the car and drive you off the road and stop your journey, allowing them to be somebody saying watch out for this and watch out for that and saying, thank you so much, kids in the back. We've got this and we know where we're going. I've got the wheel and I can keep going and I can go on this journey and let me know if you need something. But in reality, the world is not ending one way or another because you have that kind of constricting feeling. And I think, anybody that's a creator of any kind, and I believe that every human being is in some way, at the very least, your body is creating new things all the time when you're breathing in and out and cells are dividing and all that. So if you have a hard time calling yourself creative or calling yourself a creator, giving yourself permission to recognize that inherently who we are as people, we do that. And then I also think something that I don't know about you all, but was something that used to stunt my creativity the older I got was this fear of comparison, this fear of kind of copying. Somebody already did it before, so I shouldn't even try to come anywhere near it. Of really giving yourself permission to be inspired by the things around you, giving yourself permission to learn something on your journey. And if someone else is doing it, realize even if you're doing the same things, inherently by being who you are, you're doing it differently with a different creative spark in it. And so honoring all of that stuff to liberate you from whatever is making you feel like maybe I can't do this, or maybe I shouldn't be creating, or maybe people don't want to see what I've made. And I think, again, one of the biggest parts of that is witnessing yourself doing it. We can come up with scripts and we can come up with all these exercises and things to do, but actually bearing witness to the fact that there's the other side of trying that's there, witnessing that, having other people witness you, also being in community with people that are creating things and putting things out in the world that aren't perfect or aren't necessarily ready, that are willing to show you the kind of get ready with me energy of I don't know exactly how this is going to end, but you want to join me on my journey. Being surrounded by that energy versus kind of having that filtered life of everything being perfect, or you buy something that's on a shelf, you have no idea what it took for that product to become what it is. Really allowing yourself to be in community with people in the process, I think validates the fact that things don't just magically you snap your fingers and they're there. There is a process of creation that is so beautiful and can be really, scary or sad, or when things don't work, it can feel like, oh my God, I put years into this. Or, Augie was talking about like, he thought it was going to take a while. It sounds like it didn't take as long as he thought to create the space, but giving yourself permission to really allow for whatever the timeline or the restrictions or the kind of expectations you have for yourself to be less of the kind of driving force of whether or not you shoot your shot or show up.
Mm-hmm. And Miriam, I know you do a lot of work with like the inner critics with your artists. Can you talk more about that too? I'm sure you have plenty to say on the topic.
I have a whole book on that. Okay. All right. So I want to piggyback off of what Nikki was just talking about the fear. So here's the thing. Our brains have evolved for survival, not goal achievement. So our brains cannot tell the difference between we're leaving the cave and there's a tiger that's going to eat us, or we're leaving the cave and we might catch COVID, or we're going to send out an email, or that we're going to now publish a book, or we're going to like put a painting up for sale. It can't tell the difference. So anytime you feel uncomfortable, your brain says, oh, there's something dangerous happening here. There's something dangerous. Alert, alert. So what happens is that our brains are going to come up with all kinds of reasons why doing that thing that makes us feel uncomfortable is a terrible idea. Now, our brain doesn't feel it. We don't perceive these as excuses. That's how our brain is so clever, because these stories that we tell ourselves, they feel real. And the smarter you are and the more creative you are, the better you'll be at coming up with these stories about why that scary thing is a terrible idea and you absolutely shouldn't do it. So we have discomfort, which causes fear. The fear leads to, I don't call them excuses because they're not. We feel that they're doubts. And then what happens? Well, a couple of things. Either we're going to go into research mode. I call it procrastinating. We're going to go into research mode because we want to research all the ways that so that we don't fail, basically. So we're going to research mode, or we just do nothing because we're so confused. I don't know how to do it. I'm so confused. So you're either going to indulge in confusion or you're going to indulge in overwhelm. And procrastinating never helps you, because the more you research, now you're just going to come up with a different reason why it's a terrible idea. There's something you can't do, right? So you have fear that leads to doubt, that leads to procrastination, confusion, and overwhelm. But ultimately, what ends up happening is you don't take the actions that you need to take. And then you're going to feel terrible because you didn't do what you want to do. You didn't do what you set out to do. You didn't align your actions with your dreams, which leads to guilt and shame. So that's the cycle that happens. But it's because of the way our brains are set up. So if somebody who's listening and you feel like I'm describing you, you're not broken. You're not alone. You are human. This is what I talk about all the time, because this is what human beings do. You're not alone. It's not your fault, but you can be a little bit smarter than your brain. You can get on to yourself.
Yeah, I would love to talk and get answers from each of the panelists. So if we can keep those fairly brief on just like the tools you use when you catch yourself in that mode. I tend to be the person that goes into the research phase. Like I will be like, Nikki knows this. I've done a career session with her before where I've been like, I have this idea. And she'll be like, you are over researching it. Go, move forward, take the first step, And so I am one of those people that does it. So Augie, as you're creating, I know we see this with so many creators, and we have a lot of artists and builders and creators probably listening in. Kind of with the digital world, there's so much openness for people to critique your work and for you to get that feedback directly. How do you, what's a practical tip you have for how you take that leap and then deal with the fact that it's out there and people are commenting on it, literally?
To be honest, I don't really tend to worry about that part at all.
That's great.
For me,
I
the
love that for
difficult
you.
thing is doing the work is the hardest thing to do. Once it's out there, it's out there. Like then you're done. You're on to the next one. and you already have like a bunch of projects you started on. So it's not like you're gonna sit and.
I love it. We got the tad bit. I love that he doesn't dwell on it. And we could see it in his work. I've seen multiple of Augie's builds in Decentraland. And as soon as he's done, he knows it's out there. He's ready to share it and talk about the process and then build the next thing. So I love that resiliency he's built up where he's like, the work is the work. Nikki and Miriam, I'll go to both of you too for just a tip on how you see people taking that leap and getting to that next step.
Miriam, you want to go? You can go first.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to just give a tool. So what I find is most people are in decision drama because they think there's one right answer. And by decision drama, we're talking about lots of different things. So the decision could be, do I make it black or white? Do I use whatever it is in Augie's world? If it's in painting, it's something else. So it could be those kind of decisions, creative decisions, but it could just be, do I host a webinar or a summit? So we're faced with decisions all the time. The successful people are not spending time trying to make the right decision. They are all right decisions. They're just decisions. Instead of putting your energy into trying to decide what is the right decision, what's the perfect decision, make a decision. There's no wrong answers. And put your energy into making the decision you made the right one.
Yeah, I love that tip. Nikki?
Well, I've got so many, and so I'm trying very hard to keep it short. So I would say that, Miriam, I love what you just said, and I feel like mine's piggybacking on it. I think one of the pieces, and this is something called human design. Kim, apologies, I know you've heard me talk about this many times, but human design is something, it's trending out in the world of social media and places, but it's something where it helps you understand how you use your energy and how you make decisions in alignment with the way that you want to operate in this world and you're set up to operate in this world. Whether you're somebody that likes diagnostics or not, that's okay. I tend to use it as a point for people to explore, does this sound like me or does it not? I think many of us, if we grew up in any kind of education system, we're taught a very specific way to make decisions, taught a very specific way to do maths, taught a very specific way to write, to draw something, to even write cursive, like exact ways to do these things. And so that belief that there's only one right way or there's a right decision, if you're navigating that, it's how you are kind of indoctrinated into learning, creating, growing, and being an adult. And so really honoring that sometimes the process is unlearning processes that never actually aligned with how you automatically will work or will feel in resonance with the decisions you're making. And so again, in human design, I'll give my example. I'm a sacral generator. Again, you don't need to know all this stuff to go with it, but a big part of that was to honor your intuition, your gut response, the uh-huhs and the uh-uhs in the moment, and go with that. And so much of my upbringing was questioning myself and having to have an appendix or a bibliography or other people's research in order to make my gut decision something that is a viable thing to move forward with. And that hindered my ability to trust myself, first of all, and do and create and exist in the world without being completely and utterly burned out. And so I really encourage people, if you're having that block feeling, to really give yourself permission to maybe change the game a little bit of how you operate in the world, how you show up for yourself, how you trust the things that you know or don't, and get to know yourself in your own classroom and not necessarily the classroom that never really taught us to know who we are, but to know how to, get our tests right.
Yeah, how to exist in the system. Exactly. I love those. Augie, as a creative person in a very digital world, I'd love to hear where you get inspiration. Do you find you get inspiration in the digital world, or do you get a lot of your inspiration in the physical world? And how do you transpire those back and forth?
I've never really struggled with inspiration, so maybe I'm an outlier effectively, but I've kind of watered that garden throughout my life by intentionally exposing myself to different materials in order to kind of be inspired by them, knowing that kind of part isn't going to come for maybe decades later. So you're immersing yourself in all kinds of different cultures in order to kind of do that. You're kind of trying to think creatively. And that if you think creatively, you will start thinking of things all the time. So you'll be inspired. And inspiration is just a desire to do something that kind of comes to you out of seemingly nothing, but it's not nothing. You're thinking a lot of thoughts and they kind of build up for you to kind of have this kind of overflow that you have to be creative and express it out. So as every artist is a barometer of the time they live in, the zeitgeist is always there. And that's something that is inevitable, whether you do it consciously as a comment on the world that you live in or subconsciously as a reflection of that world, that will always happen. And when you can recognize that, then you can choose which part you're going to lean into or the other one, which is quite nice. And then I think the biggest one, which is also breaking through barriers and everything else, is think of your why. Why are you doing this work? Why are you being an artist? A lot of people say, I'm an artist because that's who I am. But why is it your identity? Why you think as a human being that you should be doing this? What are you trying to create with this? What are you trying to create in the short term, in the long term? And, as a whole thing, if you look back in your life. And when you start thinking of these things consistently throughout, as you're working or throughout your life even, these are kind of like really good lessons because you're always kind of thinking as a human being. And then through that thought, you will find the answers. They will present to you. And if you think creatively, your answers will be creative. And hopefully you will defeat all those resistance answers that kind of also appear as well. And then when you recognize those, you can start seeing different patterns and try to kind of overcome those. So I kind of always think like, why are you doing this? And a big part of it is, because you want something to matter. You want to say, I was here, I was human, I existed. And then a myriad of other reasons after that. So yeah, that kind of is the kind of like the key, I think, to kind of having that kind of breakthrough parts of it and how to express yourself in the digital age.
I love that. And Miriam, I know you also are an artist. So I'd love to hear, as you're working through art, like, how do you get your inspiration as well?
Okay. So I believe that inspiration is divine. We get it from our source, whatever that is to you. And even if you are the biggest atheist, that's just quantum entanglement. Like they're kind of proving it now that like there is this consciousness that we all have. In terms of our souls, we have a creative side. So just like Nikki said, we're all creative, whether we know it or not. We have a creative side of our soul, and a sacred side of our soul. Our creative side of our soul cares about what and how. The sacred side cares about who and why, which is why I love what Augie said about how you have to think about your why. The reason why some people burn out is because they're too much in their creative sides with the what and the how, and they're not in touch with their who and their why. So you need both of those things to be integrated to reach your truest expression of creativity. And this is why we're here in the world. We're here to continue to help the world and create beautiful things here. Beautiful things that could be art, beautiful things that could be medicine, beautiful things that could be healing other people. We're here to be creators and co-creators in this world.
I love that. And I am someone that does not identify as a creator or a creative person. I identify more on the businessy side of it. So I love that idea of the two parts of
you're creating a business.
Yes.
Look, you're creating something.
Absolutely.
And it all starts with something, a thought in your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to make sure, I know we're catching up on time. And we've answered most of the questions here, but I want to make sure people know how to find you all. Augie, I have said you have beautiful worlds in Decentraland, but if people want to see more of your creations, where should they go? How should they follow along?
The easiest thing would be just to Google OgiWorlds, and you're going to get a bunch of stuff. I'm super active on Twitter, fairly active on Instagram. There's YouTube, but I mean, if you just type into Google OgiWorlds, all these things will come up, and then you can choose your pathway of preference.
Perfect. And Nikki, how can people find you online?
Augie, I wish I could just say Google my name, but there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things when you put Nikki Innocent out in Google. There's other things that come back. So NikkiInnocent.com is my website. At Nikki Innocent on all of the social medias is a way you can find me. I also have a podcast called Checkbox Other, where I interview people about times in their life where they felt other or different or didn't belong and how that informed how they lived their life. So if that sounds like something you want to learn about or think about, or if there's an other story you have, definitely hit me up. And yeah, if you know Kim, feel free to reach out to Kim. I always love to hear from her, and any people she suggests, I'm always up for. So that would be easy ways.
Great. And Miriam?
Okay, so the gateway drug is the Inspiration Place podcast. If you like the kinds of things I said today, that's where you can find more of it. But I also would like to give everybody a free chapter to my book, Artpreneur. So if you DM me on Instagram, I'm Schulman Art. Pay attention to how it's spelled, SCHULMANART. I'm Schulman Art over there. DM me the word believe, and I'll let my robots set you up with the free chapter. But if you tell me you saw me on Wellness Week, I will personally go in and interact with you.
I love that. That is a great use of the robots. Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining. We really appreciated having you, having such different perspectives, and joining us in this first event of Wellness Week. So for everyone that's been listening in, we really appreciate you joining. Wellness Week is a 3-day event. So it kicked off today, Thursday, and Friday. Our ultimate guide is up on the blog, so you can see all of the different activations creators have made and hear about all of the different panels. Like I said, there are about 40 of them. So this is number 2 that I've been on today, but I know Bay is hosting a ton of others. We have creator-led tours where you can go with the artists through their spaces in Decentraland. Our tech for streaming that will be working better at that time to see the spaces. So another thing to mention, if you have never been in Decentraland, welcome. We'd love to have you. We have community members that are happy to introduce you, to give out some free wearables, which is the clothes your avatar wears. And you do not need a crypto wallet to join. So you can join with your Twitter account, your Gmail, whatever it is that you feel best signing in on. And we would love to have you jump in. So welcome to Wellness Week. Thank you all so much for joining, and a huge thank you to our panelists for being a part of the event today. Augie, I'm bringing you right back up for our final word.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
you all. We'll see you in the metaverse. Bye. Okay, the stream is over. Hello, everyone. I think we lost Nikki there at the end, but thank you so much. This was great.
No worries. Like, hopefully I haven't rugged too much.
No problem. It happens all the time.
Rugging, like it's yeah. Like
good times.
Check the internet and it's really fast. It's like 200. I'm like, it's just yeah.
It's all the meditations happening behind you, taking all of your connection.